How's it going? Ryan here at etrailer.com. Today on our 2008 Ram 2500, we're going to be taking a look at and showing you how to install the Torklift SuperHitch original trailer hitch receiver. So right off the bat, the Super Hitch is going to work in conjunction with your factory hitch, which as you can see, it's going to give you two receiver tube openings. Now that's going to be perfect if you plan on using a super truss, so say if you have an in-bed camper that overhangs, or if you're just wanting to tow a trailer and carry an accessory like a bike rack or a cargo carrier at the same time. This is going to allow you to do that. Now in all honesty, this hitch is really going to interest those of you that are using an in-bed camper that overhangs, and it's going to block easy access to your hitch. This is going to allow that super truss to plug into both of the hitches and extend out at whatever length is more suitable for you past your in-bed camper. That way you can easily hook your trailer up to your truck with your camper inside of the bed. And what's cool about this setup, whenever you use a super truss, it's not going to diminish or affect the maximum tongue weight rating, unlike a lot of other extenders. Now this is a class 5 hitch, so everything about it is going to be very heavy duty. It's going to have a 2" by 2" receiver tube opening and a thick reinforced collar for extra strength. So this is going to have a standard 5/8 size pinhole, but it's also going to be reinforced around the sides. Now I really like that touch because especially when towing something really heavy, what tends to happen is when your pin and clip is through there, just from stopping and starting, that pin and clip is going to kind of want to walk back and forth, and over time that can kind of hollow out the holes on the inside. But with the reinforcement on each side, that's something we're really not going to have to worry about. Now we're going to have plate style safety chain openings, which are going to be fairly large in size, but they're also going to be double reinforced. So they're going to be very, very thick. That way if an accidental disconnect does happen to occur, you're not going to have to worry about a failure here because on how heavy duty these are. And even though they're not huge, they are going to give us enough room to even use a large safety chain hook. The hitch's weight capacities are quite impressive. The maximum gross tongue weight rating is going to be 1,700 pounds. That's going to be the amount of weight pushing down on the hitch. The maximum gross trailer weight rating is going to be 17,000 pounds. That's going to be the amount of weight pulling on the hitch. So that's the weight of your trailer plus anything that you might have on it. Now the hitch can be used with the weight distribution system, which is a separate component. But if you are using one of those, your capacities do increase. The maximum gross tongue weight rating goes up to 2,000 pounds, and the maximum gross trailer weight rating increases to 20,000 pounds. Now, I do recommend checking with your truck's owner's manual to make sure your truck can pull that much weight. Another nice touch that I really like about this hitch, specifically if you are using it with a in-bed camper, is that there's camper tie-downs specifically designed to work with this hitch. That way they'll tie right into it, come out to the side, and give you a spot to tie down your in-bed camper. Now even though the hitch is visible, in my opinion, it is going to look really good. So it have a very thick powder coat finish. It's almost like a hammer tone finish, and once you kind of feel it and get your hands on it, you'll just be able to tell right away that it's very heavy duty and it's going to last for a long time. So overall, very versatile heavy duty hitch. You're not just getting a class 5 hitch that you're going to be able to do some towing with. You're getting a lot more than that. Because of the way it's designed, you're going to have 2 of your receiver tubes open, and you're going to be able to use it with a ton of different accessories to help you get the job done. Now I'm going to give you a couple of measurements, and you're going to use these to help figure out which hitch mounted accessories to get. From the ground to the top inside edge of our receiver tube opening, it's going to be about 19.5 inches. And you're going to use that to figure out whether you need to get a ball mount with either a drop or a rise. From the center of the hitch pinhole to the edge of our rear bumper, that's going to be about 2 inches. And you're going to use that to figure out if any folding accessories that you might have can be stored in the upright position without contacting the bumper. And something I do want to mention, in this case, the end of the Super Hitch receiver tube is going to be even or flush with the factory receiver tube. Now for being such a heavy duty hitch, the installation is going to take a little bit of time, but it's really not that bad. There's no drilling required or any modifications as far as that goes. But speaking of which, let's go ahead and put it on together now. To begin our installation, we're first going to start by temporarily removing our spare tire. Now we can start putting our hardware in place to mount everything up. So we're going to be working on the passenger side frame rail here. We're going to put some hardware through this opening here in the frame rail. And the way we're going to do that is use the fish wire technique. We're going to take the coiled end of our fish wire, feed it through that hole, and then we're going to push it towards the back of the truck where there is an opening in the frame. That way when that goes through there, we're going to attach our hardware to it, and then we're going to be able to pull it through. So we'll drop that down. And what we're going to put on is a spacer block with the hole in the center, followed by a 1/2-inch star washer, and then a 2-inch bolt. We'll thread the bolt onto fish wire, and we can feed everything into the frame rail. Might have to kind of try to do it one at a time because it is a little tight. I'm just using a little screwdriver to kind of poke through and help feed that hardware through if it does get hung up. Go ahead and pull all of our hardware through the frame, just like that. Now what we can do is take one of our side straps, which is going to face this direction. We're going to put that through our fish wire. And over the bolt. Now what I'm going to do is just put a little downward pressure pulling down on that bolt from our side strap just to try to keep it in place. We're going to remove our fish wire. You want to try not to damage the fish wire because we are going to have to use it again. Just carefully unthread it. We're going to put on a flat washer, a split lock washer, followed by a hex nut. We're just going to get this loosely installed for now, just hang tight. Now we can go ahead and get our hardware in place in hole number 2, which is right here. And again, we're going to use the fish wire technique. So I already went ahead and just ran my fish wire through the hole out to the back of the frame. What we're going to do is put on a center hole spacer block, a star washer, as well as another 2-inch bolt. We'll use that same method that we did to get that first bolt in. We'll thread that on. And work everything through. And get it to drop down just like that. Now at this point, since the bolt is just hanging down, we're not going to have to worry about it going up inside of the frame and losing it. We're able to just remove our fish wire. For hole number 3, right here, again, we're going to use the fish wire to get our hardware in place. And this time, we're going to use an offset spacer block. So that's the one with the hole kind of here in the corner, as opposed to in the dead center. And when we put this on, we're going to want to make sure we get it installed like this. So we want that offset hole to face towards the outside of the truck. We're going to take another 2-inch bolt and a star washer. Let's set it up the same way as we did the others. Thread it in and feed it into position. Just like that. Then we'll just carefully take off our pull wire. Now we can work on installing our side plate. Now the way these work is that this angled portion up top here is going to face towards the outside of the truck. So the flat side, or the back side here where my hand is, that'll be in the center of the truck. Now when we set this up there, the bolts that are going to hold it in place are the ones that we fish wired into the frame rail. One bolt's going to go through this opening. The other bolt is going to go through this round, smaller opening here. So when we're holding this up there and our bolts are dropped through, we're going to loosely secure it by taking this plate, if you will, slide that over. Then that'll be followed by a split lock washer and a nut. And that'll be the same hardware combination for this one back here. So kind of just work it in. Might have to kind of go around some of these factory bolts. Just be careful not to push up so hard that the hardware accidentally gets pushed back into the frame rail. We're going to take our plate, our lock washer, and our nut. Just get that hand tight for now. Alright, at this point we could take one of our smaller plate washers and a 2-inch bolt. And what we're going to do is run this bolt for this opening here in the hitch. That'll come out this side. Then we can take another one of our smaller plate washers, followed by a split lock washer and a nut. And again, we'll just get this going on hand tight. All right, at this point, we're going to take our spacer block with the hole in the center, and this is actually going to go in between our side strap and our side plate. So we're going to line this hole up with this one closest to the back of the truck. Then we're going to take a 2-inch bolt with 2 flat washers under the head of it, running in from the outside in, like so. We're going to follow that up with another 2 flat washers, a split lock washer, and just a nut. And get that hand tight. Now the driver's side is set up the exact same way as far as all the hardware that we use and everything to get our side plate installed. So I just went ahead and repeated that same process over here. With an extra set of hands, we can put our main hitch into place. You may have to kind of work it in between our side plates to get it to line up. Once we have it lined up, we're going to take one of our bolts, put it from the outside in, and on the other side, we're going to take a split lock washer and a nut and get it hand tight. Now we want to make sure to at least get one started on each side, and the hitch should support itself while we work on the rest of the hardware. So I went ahead and loosely secured our hitch to the side plates, using that same hardware combination in all of the holes on each side. Now for the hardware here in the center that connects our factory hitch to our super hitch, we're going to take a bolt and our big washer. And what we're going to do is take 2 flat washers, and these will be used as spacers. And so we're going to slide those in between the super hitch and the factory hitch and drop our bolt through all of them, just like that. Then we're going to take another flat washer, then on the bottom, a split lock washer, followed by a nut. And so we'll get this one hand tight, and it's going to be the same hardware combination for the other side. Now what you want to do is just make sure that our 2 hitches are straight or in line with each other. And then once we verified that, What we're going to do is just snug down these two bolts on each side of our receiver tube openings. So I'm just going to use the 3/4 inch wrench to hold the bolt at the top. Then we're able to tighten the nut down. Now we can tighten down all of the hardware that holds each side of our hitch to our side plates. After all of our hitch to side plate bolts are tightened, we're going to come back and torque them down to the amount specified in the instructions. Now we can tighten down our rearmost hole connecting our side plates to the frame rail, which will be this bolt right here. We're going to do that on each side. Then we can come back and tighten down our hardware here closest to the front of the truck, which would be hole number 2. We're going to do that again on each side. Then we can tighten down our horizontal bolts closest to the rear, which will be these right here. And at this point, we're able to tighten down both of our side strap bolts. Now we can come back with the torque wrench and properly torque everything down to the amount specified in our instructions in the same order that we just tightened all of our hardware in. And then we can come back and tighten down our 2 bolts here next to our receiver tubes. Now at this point we can go ahead and put our spare tire back in place. As you can see, our spare tire does go back in its place. Now it is a little bit tight, but you can rest assured that it will go back up. And that'll finish up our look at and our installation of the Torklift SuperHitch original trailer hitch receiver on our 2008 Ram 2500.